Next topic, real estate smart financial planning for buying a home. Preparing to financially buy a home is essential because it's one of the most significant investments that you will ever make in your entire life. You must definitely consider the purchase price, but also the ongoing mortgage payments and other expenses that you're going to have throughout the life of the home. And so it becomes a very complicated decision in actuality. Preparing will definitely help you gain approval for your loan, gain the best possible mortgage rates, as well as pay the least amount of interest over time. You can also reduce the complexity and stress of the overall application process by simply planning and going into the house purchasing process with a little bit of strategery. Do you prefer giving tons of paperwork than giving more and then more and then more paperwork? I mean, I'm sure that sounds very appealing. Then eventually you may get approved for your loan. Or do you prefer to submit 6 documents or so and then get approved with a great loan within just a couple weeks? I mean, which sounds better? Overall, I think the streamlined, simpler, smoother process would be best if we can create that for ourselves, right? The better your situation, the better you prepare, the less complexity you will experience within the application process itself. If you are a great candidate, life is better for everyone. If you're a great candidate, the loan officer will be more apt to approve you quicker and smoother with less documentation. For a great candidate, the loan process is overall 10 times smoother, not just for the loan officer, but also for the candidate, and you will get better deals as well. You will have multiple banks trying to give you the best rate, so then you will choose to go with them. Because the reality is, if they give you a loan, you will be giving them interest and profits. So the reality is, with all of these rake heights in interest rates, that is currently being reduced. Obviously, I'm a little bit laughing about this reduction in interest rates because the reality is, you know, as elections get closer and closer and the politics of the situation begin to influence interest rates, you know, currently the government is saying that our interest rates will actually decrease as they've been really super high for the past couple years. And I find that super entertaining because they spent several years super high, and as the interest rates decrease, it's, in my opinion, based on the fact that, yes, there's a lot of complexities to it, but the elections are coming, so interest rates are going to get better, so people will buy more homes and everyone will be happier and feel like the economy is awesome. And in the reality, the government is saying that the recession may occur in the future. The reality is, I kind of think the recession has already occurred. Economically, things are rough for everyone. So the good news is that when you're going through the loan process, if you're a great candidate, you will be more apt to be approved. The reality is, with the dynamics of this market being so complex and so difficult right now with high interest rates and banks not wanting to give loans and banks not wanting to approve credit, the whole loan process gets even more complicated. But you need to realize that a bank will not make money if they don't approve your loan. And if you choose to go to one bank over another bank, one bank is winning and the other one gains nothing. The reality is, you are putting someone through a process like a mortgage loan approval process, and if you don't choose to go with them, they wasted all these hours of labor processing your application just to not approve of any income that they gain for interest that they accrue over time. So the bank is incentivized to approve your loan. If they go through the entire labor and admin of doing your application and don't approve you, then they're only not approving you because you're a risk. Because the reality is, they want to approve you because they get you locked into 30 years of interest income that they get. So improve your loan application process by being the best possible candidate you can be, and there are adjustments that you can make to enhance your application and to really foster the best application process. You can better your situation by preparing more and having an understanding of the process itself. And so that's what we're going to kind of go into to try to reduce the complexity of the process and also improve the application process for you. If you're a great candidate, life is better for you, life is better for everyone, and the process is also easier. Optimize your situation through proper preparation so then you can have an easier process with minimal stressors. That is all we want, right? A smooth process with less stress. So here are some tips to improve your loan application process for getting a mortgage for a home. First and foremost, definitely improve your credit score. Regardless of how much, definitely you want to improve it in general because your credit score will definitely enhance your situation and make this loan process way easier. And you will be denied if your credit score is just not good enough. You want to definitely improve your credit score as much as possible also because it will enhance the rate that you're approved for. So, two applicants apply for the same loan, but based on their credit score, one applicant may get a 5% interest rate for their mortgage, while the other one would have a 6% interest rate for their mortgage. So the reality is that the amount of interest you pay over the life of the loan, whether you're getting a 5% interest rate or a 6% interest rate, will depend partially on your credit score and how good it is. So definitely ensure that you have the best credit score possible. Definitely improve your credit score as much as possible before you buy. If you would like some really awesome tips on improving your FICO credit score, which is also based on 3 different credit report bureaus, definitely be sure to check out my video. I think it's actually the first ever video I created on YouTube. So be nice. It was my first ever YouTube video, but anyway. So definitely be sure to check out my first ever YouTube video. Let's see all the progress we came through from then through now. That will definitely give you some tricks to improving your credit score, literally secrets that have enhanced my credit score tremendously. And just a few weeks ago, I implemented these tricks to expedite my real estate growth. I actually was just recently approved for 0% interest rate credit cards and $31,000 in total. And as it stands, I have available to me over $150,000 like utilized capacity. $150,000 credit card value available to me if I ever wanted to go shopping. Tomorrow I could spend up to $150,000 on my card. The reality is nobody does that because it's like the worst financial decision ever, but my point is I have the access and the ability to optimize my business growth by utilizing credit if I needed. So some quick tips. You'll definitely want to improve your FICO score by implementing a utilization ratio of under 15% or 30%. Now back to the purchasing process. In order to purchase a home, you're going to want to save up 15 to 30% down payment for buying the home. Most banks require a down payment percentage of the overall purchase price, unless you're obtaining a VA loan, which doesn't really provide the requirement of a down payment. Otherwise, you will always really need to do a down payment, especially for like a commercial loan as well. Be sure to save up for your down payment prior to looking for your house or home or property or commercial property. As you near the preferred budget amount, start looking for homes several months before you want to buy. You'll definitely want to improve your debt to income ratio. If you have too much debt or too many expenses on paper that go against your income, it will be very difficult, if not impossible, to get approved for your loan. You'll want to really improve the amount of income you have on paper and decrease the amount of expenses that you have documented on paper. You'll want to reduce your debts, reduce your expenses, and improve your income so you look like the best possible candidate. You'll want to control and optimize your bank data. Banks look at the past 30 to 60 days of your checking account bank statements. So a priceless trick to maintaining the best possible application is for you to actually have multiple checking accounts that you use. And you should most definitely ensure that your favored checking account has the down payment of thousands of dollars located inside this bank account. And this bank account is also the account that you're going to want to have certain bills go through. But for instance, like your credit card payments, you don't have to have everything going through that account. If they want you to submit all of your bank accounts to get approved for the loan, just recognize that you may need to. But the reality is, most every time I've ever did a loan process, I've always submitted like my main checking account. Sometimes I'll submit my savings account if they ask for it, but that's only if they ask for it. So my point is, optimize your income, reduce your expenses, also make sure that the account that you're utilizing for the application process, that main checking account that has your down payment, make sure that data within that account is just optimized and looks good, and just, you know, don't have billions of expenses like, oh, I went and got $1,000 worth of groceries this month. Like, okay, when you're preparing for home purchases and if your math does not look good, don't be charging huge amounts on your credit cards. Do not be charging huge amounts of fuel on your checking account or other normal expenses. Like, the more expenses that are showing in your checking account, the more red flags may occur. So, you know, spend gas money on your credit card instead of on your checking account. You know, like, do little simple things to just make your situation look a little better, because they will look at your checking account, they will look at whether or not you have the down payment, they will look at, okay, wow, you've got a lot of expenses showing on your checking account. So really just simplify your checking account. The simpler your checking account is, if you've got 10 transactions on your checking account, the process will be 10 times easier. If you've got 30 different transactions in your checking account, the loan officer is going to have to sort through all of that. And you don't really want to have all these different red flags. Now, certain loan officers will ask for every single account, and you just provide it, no big deal. But the reality is, in my example I provided you, if you choose to charge your, for example, gas fuel to your checking account, that shows up as an expense. But if you charge that gas fuel for that 1 month of time to your credit card, they're not going to be pulling your credit card statements to see everything you've spent on your credit card. The only thing that matters to them is the total amount on the credit card. So my point is, you're simplifying the data that people have to sort through. You know, for that 30-day span or 60-day span, charge your fuel to the credit card and pay the balance instead of populating this data into your checking account, which just complicates the loan process by giving the loan officer more information to look at. It may sound simple, it may sound like, why waste your time? But my point is, if you are a little nervous about your application process, that is when you make these little tweaks in your lifestyle to enhance and optimize your loan application process. Now, if you're a best candidate ever, like, you don't have to do these little things, you know? You have nothing to worry about. But if you have a lower credit score and you're not the best candidate, you're gonna want to enhance and optimize your situation and really smooth out the loan application process. So as I was saying, banks look at 30 to 60 days of your checking account bank statements. So you may want to maintain multiple accounts and kind of simplify your main account that you're submitting for your application process. In an honorable way, just recognize you may have to provide them all of your checking account balances and statements, but the reality is they are required to only ask for the information that they need. Other information is kind of too personal, and would you also consider that the loan officer is not going to ask you for every single detail of your life, because that would be discriminatory. They're going to ask you for specific things that they ask everyone. So yes, they can ask you for 10 different bank account statements for 10 different banks, but if they don't need it, they're not going to. And so that's the point I'm getting at. They're just looking for the information they need, and if you provide it, the process is simpler. And just smooth out the process anytime you can. So you can optimize how you look in the eyes of the bank. The bank wants to see the account that has your down payment, and so you just simply simplify and smooth out the process by optimizing that bank account and statement and what it looks like, and reducing the expenses on it by simply charging into a credit card, for example, or doing anything else you can do. Ensure that you have the down payment in that checking account for at least 30 days or up to 90 days before giving the bank your checking statements. Sometimes banks require that you have that down payment for 30 to 60 days or even 90 days prior to purchasing the home, because they want to see that that money has been seasoned and has been sitting there for a while. And as an aside, if you have rental income because you're an entrepreneur like me, oftentimes the bank will also want you to have that home for at least 6 months, if not 1 year, because they don't recognize the rental income if you've not had that property for 6 months or a year. And similarly, if you have a loss of job or a new job, that actually can impact your loan application process as well. So you'll need to have your job for 6 months or a year in order for them to consider that income for your loan application process. For your bank statements, you're gonna have to show your utilities and your other normal expenses. They don't usually ask you many questions about this type of thing. At least I've never really gotten questioned. It's really just self-explanatory. You submit the statement and they're looking for that kind of thing. They're looking at your expenses and, does it look like you have a lot of income to expenses ratio, or is it not very good ratio? Your credit card payments populating in this checking account may indicate that you have more expenses versus less. You'll definitely want to minimize expenses on this account if you're worried about your debt to income ratio for gaining approval for this loan or gaining, the best interest rate. The best applicant is going to get the best interest rate, and so you definitely always want to look your best within the application process. You'll definitely want to control and optimize your job and other income. You do have control. Banks want your most recent 1 month of job pay stubs. You can work extra this month or optimize your side hustle income to really enhance the income documented on paper. Ensure that your rental income is also the highest it can possibly be that month, and ensure that it's actually recognized. Make sure that you've had your rental property for that 6 months or a year, and that your rental lease agreement documents the rental income that you're getting, so then it can go toward improving your application for the loan process. So overall, you'll want to maximize your income and reduce your expenses. The better you look on paper, the better loan rates and offers you will get. You'll want to save up and maintain an emergency fund. Ensure that you have $3,000 to $10,000 available to you when things go wrong in the 30 years of your loan. So throughout life in general. Give yourself a backup. Give yourself options. Give yourself access to loans and credit cards with the lowest possible interest rates and the highest available limits. So there are different expenses that you'll want to have an estimated knowledge of. For instance, you'll want to know what is your mortgage payment, what utilities such as water, electric, gas, oil, sewage, or garbage would you be expected to pay, even internet. You'll want to understand what are the taxes and the insurance escrow amounts that you may be expected throughout that loan process. What car payments you have, how much does food and gas cost you, and ensure that your monthly income is both sufficient and also provides you an extra 30% money in order to pay for the above expenses. You'll want to ensure that you can afford repair and maintenance expenses and know that the property will always need repair and maintenance throughout the life of the home. So don't stress about them. Just know that repairs are something that you're going to have to deal with within the loan and house ownership process in general. You'll want to know what problems exist in the home. For instance, get an inspection from a qualified, specialized professional. You'll want to make informed decisions and definitely buy the best possible property that you can with the least amount of repairs, more cosmetic repairs versus structural major repairs. You do not want that. So no property is perfect, but just be sure to ensure that the foundation, the roof, the electrical, the plumbing, the major utilities and structure itself don't have any issues, because these major issues will really complicate your life and really cause the math of how good of a buy this was to go less in your favor. I personally love the concept of buying any home because inflation, I really think it's a great purchase for you to invest in buying a home and never rent. But you'll definitely want to ensure that you're buying the best possible property for you to enhance your situation and reduce your stressors and reduce your repairs and maintenance costs. So when purchasing, you're going to want to consider what purchase price can you afford. Determine your home buying payment amount, your expenses, your budget, and what you can afford. Determine the estimated mortgage payment that you can afford. Based on experience that I've kind of been able to kind of see that $50,000 purchase price will require approximately $400 monthly payment. A $100,000 purchase price will require approximately $650 monthly mortgage payment, and a $200,000 purchase price will require approximately $1,200 monthly payment amount for your mortgage. Now, obviously, this will vary with interest rates, this will vary with taxes and insurance and inflation, but overall, those are the numbers I've been seeing. And if you would like a more accurate, awesome tool that I really like, Carl's Mortgage app is absolutely amazing, and it will calculate how much interest you will pay versus principal payment amounts based on what your purchase price is, how much your down payment is, and it'll calculate all this data and show you all of this information. It'll calculate it all out and give you very helpful information within the app. So definitely be sure to download the Carl's Mortgage app on your phone and play around with the different details in the app, and consider the information within the app when you're doing your loan purchasing process. It's really great for getting a better understanding of the numbers. Definitely check out this Priceless app. It's going to help you understand your mortgage payment and how extra payments will affect the amount of interest that you're paying. You will also be able to better understand how little changes in your interest rate costs you thousands of dollars. If you have a mortgage, definitely expect to pay a large amount of interest over the life of the loan. Today, the average interest rate for a home purchase is, maybe 5% to 7%. So in the app, I entered 6.5% rate and a 15% down payment. And I was able to get that for a loan for $50,000, I would expect to pay $53,000 or more in interest payments to the bank. For a loan of $100,000, I would expect to pay $108,000 in interest payments to the bank. And for a loan of $200,000, I would expect to pay $215,000 in interest payments to the bank. For a loan of $400,000, I would expect to pay $430,000 in interest payments to the bank. So you'll actually kind of notice in the math that I just explained. If you're purchasing a house for $400,000, you're probably going to pay $400,000 in interest over the life of the loan of 30 years. If you're getting a loan for $200,000, you're probably going to pay about over $200,000 in interest payments over the life of that loan. And for a $100,000 loan, you're probably going to pay over $100,000 in interest payments. And as we would all expect, if you have a loan for $50,000, you're probably going to spend more than $50,000 in interest to the bank over the life of the loan. So the point is, your interest rate is super important, and you end up paying a lot of interest within the loan process. So by paying cash, you can literally save you that same amount of money or more. And so that's why paying cash is so impactful for purchasing a home. If you pay $50,000 in cash to purchase the house, you're literally saving yourself over $50,000 in interest to the bank. So remember, you are a customer, you are a client, and the reality is you can literally shop around for the best loan options. Anyone that tells you otherwise is absolutely crazy. Choose the best loan, choose the best bank, choose the best option. You do not have to purchase a home, and you do not have to go with a certain bank. If their application gives you horrible rates, don't go with that bank application. Just because you're approved for a loan doesn't mean that that loan is the best option for you, and it doesn't mean that you should be purchasing that home based on that loan approval. So in general, you'll want to shop around for the best loan and rates. I have a 6.5% rate for my 2021 purchased home. I'd say this was reasonable at the time, kind of technically a little bit high, and a rate between 2.5 to 4.5% would be way better. But in my opinion, I also didn't have the best bank. I personally do not like Wells Fargo, and that's simply the rate that I got with Wells Fargo. So, you know, if you can get under 6.5% or 4.5% for your loan, that's way better. 6.5%, in my opinion, is actually a very high loan interest rate. So, also, you can pull your credit multiple times for the loan purchase process. Obviously, if you pull your credit more than once, it will affect your credit score, either as a soft pull or a hard pull. But you can pull your credit more than once. That is an option for you if you're trying to optimize your credit app or your application process. So when you're purchasing the home, your credit pulls will usually be coupled together. So if you pull your credit once within a 90-day span, banks will not require you to pull your credit more than once. They'll actually, if you apply for multiple loans with multiple banks, that one credit pool will actually be considered for all the loan processes. And if you do pull your credit again within that 90-day span for the purchase of the home, it'll actually count as a softer pull against your credit versus multiple hard pulls. So my point is that if you're purchasing a home and you pull your credit more than once, it actually is not going to be considered a hard credit pull. Instead, it'll be a soft credit pull and it won't impact your credit that much. That is why I'm encouraging you to pull your credit more than once if you need to. It actually impacts your credit very less and will actually enhance your application process pretty extensively in comparison. So the risks are low and the benefits are high. So credit pools will count as a soft pool and they'll be coupled together and they won't impact your credit as much if you're pulling your credit within that 45 or 90-day span. So again, I am encouraging you to do the application process, not just for one bank, but for more than one, to see if you can get the best possible rates. Control also when you're pulling your credit. If you know that your data is going to be less beneficial to you in this current moment, don't pull your data yet. Have your credit pull performed when best for you. The only way that you can really do this is if you know the date in which your credit is sent off to the credit report bureau. I actually know the dates of my data being sent off. I know that for my one bank account, my payment is due on the 13th, and then on the 16th, the data is sent to the credit bureau. So I would recognize that by the 17th, my balance and my overall situation will show up on my credit report. So yes, my payment's due the 13th, 16th, it'll send out to the credit bureau, 17th, my credit report will actually be affected. And so if I want to optimize my situation, I will ensure that by the 13th, my balances are zero, so then I can acknowledge that on the 17th, my credit bureau report will be the best it can possibly be. And if I want to pull my credit for a mortgage, if I know that my credit cards require the payment on the 13th, and the 1st, and the 24th, and the 13th, then I know that overall, let's say I have a balance really high on my one credit card that's due on the 24th. I'll definitely want to pull my credit before the 24th because I know that my bank account for the 24th is not going to positively affect my score. So instead, I pull the credit just after I zero balance my 13th and 1st credit cards. So if I have a credit card payment due on the 1st and the 13th, and the 13th and the 24th, but I know my balance for the 24th card is really high, you'll definitely want to pull your credit score after zeroing the balance on the 1st, 13th, and 13th card, and pull the credit score maybe on the 17th, just before the 24th credit card data appears on your credit report. But following your zero balances that were documented by the card on the 1st, on the 13th, and the 13th. You could definitely optimize and pull your credit anytime, and you'll want to strategize that as well if you're a little nervous about getting your approval for the loan. So you can control credit pulls and you can schedule these credit pulls. You can literally tell a loan officer, because first of all, they have to literally get approval before they pull your credit. They can't just go and approve your credit at any time, anywhere. Like, they have to actually get your approval to pull your credit. So the reality is, you can literally tell them, hey, I want you to pull my credit on the 17th, and they will do so, because they actually require approval to pull your credit. And if you're telling them, yes, I approve of you pulling my credit, but you need to pull the credit on the 17th, then they will only pull your credit on the 17th. So you'll want to schedule your credit pulls, and you'll also want to make multiple credit pulls if it is beneficial to you to do so. Submit all of your documentation for the loan first, and then schedule the credit pull when your credit is most optimized. I recommend choosing a specific date in the future to pull the credit. Ensure that multiple banks pull the credit during the same 45 to 90 day span, because remember, if you pull your credit multiple times within the same 45-day span, it'll count as a soft pull. But if you pull your credit for multiple banks in a larger span, over 180 days or more than 45 days in general, then your multiple credit pulls will actually impact your credit extensively and won't count as a soft pull. So in summary, the safest you could ever be is by doing your loan application process for multiple banks and having that credit pulled within the same 45-day span. That reduces how much your credit score is impacted by the credit pulls. So in general, I know this video is a little complicated, and I know the whole loan process is very complicated as well, but honestly, it'll get simpler over time and the more you experience. And the reality is, you can always drop a comment down below if you have a question. I can definitely answer your questions and help you enhance and improve this process, especially if your credit score, your income, or your expenses are a little complicated and difficult. I can help you streamline the process and improve it and smoothen it out for you. Really, the loan process is not so bad, especially if you go into it with a little bit of an understanding of how the process works and what the loan officer is looking for. In general, you'll just have to do your best, and I know this video was complicated, but the reality is you can always watch it more than once, and most definitely download that Carl's Mortgage Calculator app. It is very helpful. Just as a homeowner, I literally recommend that every homeowner has that app and checks it out, because it is literally a priceless app. I love it. It's really helpful. You don't have to be perfect to obtain a mortgage and buy a home. You just have to look reliable in the eyes of the bank, usually by maximizing your income, reducing your expenses, and enhancing your credit score. If you buy what you can afford, the bank will be more apt to approve your loan. So you choose your purchase price. If you're buying a property that's out of your budget and affordability, then they're not going to approve you of the loan. But if your purchase price is strategized based on your budget and what you can afford, the loan officer is going to be more apt to approve of your loan. For the loan officer, it's all about the numbers. Is your situation reliable? Can you afford the home? If it is reliable and you can afford the loan, they'll probably approve of you, especially if you make your payments reliably, and that is shown by your credit report. If you're denied, you may not be able to afford the property that you're trying to purchase, or you're not reliable in making payments, which is shown by your not so good credit score. But again, you can enhance your credit score. Definitely check out my FICO video posted on YouTube. You can ensure that your budget and you're buying strategically. You can make informed decisions, you can take proactive actions, you can improve your situation, you can plan for the home buying process. All of this all reduces the stress, reduces the complexity, and really improves your application process. All you can do is the best that you can, and the most important thing is that you get to buy what you want with the best possible rates that you can. So remember, you can buy any property that you want. If one is too much money, just buy something else that's a little cheaper with a lower purchase price. In my opinion, just buying in general will help you tremendously because you basically throw your money in the garbage by renting. So I recommend buying. You can always sell your home as an asset as well. Just do what you can. The most important thing is that you're buying, and you're buying at the right purchase price. So choose that purchase price really strategically. Remember, you can buy any property, and also remember that a property only has the value that you give it. If a property is too much money, then you should definitely go buy something else that is within your budget. For more videos about real estate and home purchasing, definitely check out my business playlist album on YouTube. Thank you so much. You could definitely click on the playlists above, and I'll talk to you all later.